is Megan Von Sell, your cancer expert, and I'm the owner and CEO of Cancer Peace University, where it is our goal to set you free from the fear of cancer. In this video, I'm going to be talking about critical strategies to help you live to be 100 years old if you want to live that long. We're going to be talking about ways to downregulate nutrient-seeking pathways in the body that are associated with pro-aging, pro-growth, and the development of heart disease and cancer. And it is not an easy topic. Not everyone is enjoying something like fasting. But let's talk a little bit about fasting and how fasting can protect the body during chemotherapy and how fasting can actually help downregulate certain pathways in the body that can be pro-aging and pro-growth pathways. Fasting is a very beneficial habit to include in a healthy lifestyle. However, when you do something like a water fast for even shorter periods of time, at a certain point in the water fast, your body can start a process called gluconeogenesis, which breaks down protein stores in the body to cause these protein stores to be activated into glucose and to use those for cells that rely on glucose. Cancer cells rely heavily on glucose, so a prolonged water fast during a cancer diagnosis can have a negative effect on the body. However, there is a product called Prolon that you can use to mimic a fasting state. This is called a fasting mimicking diet, and the company Prolon has created macro and micronutrients in powdered forms to help the body receive ample amounts of nutrients and fat that help the body maintain a stable amount of nutrients to avoid going into gluconeogenesis in a fasted state, but at the same time receiving the benefits of a fast. One of the benefits of fasting is a downregulation of pathways that are pro-growth and pro-aging. These pathways include insulin growth factor 1, IGF, mTOR, and PKA. And during a water fast, the body will downregulate PKA, mTOR, as well as insulin growth factor 1. And in studies looking at the lives of those living over 100 years of age, these are called centenarians. These, a lot of times, the levels of insulin growth factor 1 are low throughout a person's life that can live past the age of 100. Insulin growth factor 1 is many times elevated prior to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even a cancer diagnosis. And the Prolon fasting mimicking diet can be used 6 times a year, 5 days out of the month for 3 months, and then a 3-month break, and then 5 days out of a month for 3 months, in order to have a long-term effect on these nutrient-sensing pathways of the mTOR, insulin growth factor 1, IGF-1, and the PKA pathway. The mTOR pathway is related to cellular replication cycles, and when mTOR is elevated during and before a cancer diagnosis, there is an increased ability for the replication cycle of cancer cells and an increase of tumor growth. And the fasting mimicking diet can help to decrease and downregulate mTOR in pathway in the body. The fasting mimicking diet has also been studied at the University of Southern California, and clinical trials have been done. And it's been found that even 6 months after doing a 5-day fasting mimicking diet, these nutrient sensing pathways are still down regulated. So that impact is beyond the 5 days of the fasting mimicking diet. Another huge benefit that has been found of the fasting mimicking diet is the impact on the immune system. As we age, a natural process of the diminishing of the immune system can occur, and this is known as immunosenescence. Immunosenescence is the phenomenon of the immune system diminishing as we age. Also, as we age, the ratio between lymphoid and myeloid can decline. And the fasting mimicking diet has been found to promote and boost the immune system to reverse immunosenescence and to help balance the ratio of the lymphoid myeloid ratio, which is related to lymphoma and multiple myeloma. Thus, the fasting mimicking diet can help strengthen your immune system. Other benefits of the fasting mimicking diet is that it's been found to decrease excess sex hormones in the body, which is a huge benefit for those who have a history of an ER or PR positive cancer diagnosis. And the fasting mimicking diet has also been found to increase the cell's ability to be repaired, to be damaged cells to be removed from the body, and to repair and restore the digestive tract and the immune system, the cells that replicate at the highest rate within the body. Let's look at a couple studies. We also want to understand that fasting before and during chemotherapy has been found to have a protective effect on the body. I do recommend that my clients engage in a 24-hour fast prior to chemotherapy. And studies have found that when the body is going into a state of ketosis from fasting, that normal cells can be protected from the toxic effects of chemotherapy, while cancer cells become more able to be killed by the chemotherapy because of the stress of the fuel sources being removed from cancer cells, such as the fuel source of glucose. And in a fasted state, fasting for 24 hours before chemotherapy, the cancer cells can become more sensitive to the toxic effects of chemotherapy, while normal cells can be protected. In a study in 2014, 2 to 4 days of fasting before chemotherapy was found to increase stem cell activity of regenerating the immune system. Also, the toxic effects of chemotherapy were diminished in this study. And there was also an increase in the production of white blood cell activity. In a mouse model study looking at fasting and chemotherapy, mice that had breast cancer that fasted for 48 hours before chemotherapy were found to have a 90% reduction in the tumor mass, compared to the untreated mice that did not have a 90% reduction. Also, a 72-hour fast in a mouse model study looking at melanoma found that 60% of mice that fasted for 72 hours before receiving chemotherapy treatments had a long-term survival outcome, whereas the mice that did not engage in fasting before chemotherapy suffered from metastasis as well as chemotherapy toxic induced death. And the mice in the study with 72 hours of fasting prior to the chemotherapy had a decrease of 60% of insulin growth factor 1. And in a 2020 study looking at fasting 3 days prior to chemotherapy and on the day of chemotherapy, there was a larger amount of tumor reduction as well as complete tumor reduction in those who engaged in the study. Thus, fasting during chemotherapy can have a huge impact on the body and is recommended for those who have been going through chemotherapy treatments and need better support to get through any toxicity and side effects of the chemotherapy. Our next Cancer Peace University course is starting at the end of March. And this week, I'm taking applications for scholarships for those who have been impacted financially by the COVID crisis. If you want to enroll in CPU, but you've been financially affected by COVID, You can PM me or email me at cancerpeaceuniversity@gmail.com and simply share how you've been affected by COVID and why you want to enroll in Cancer Peace University. And I will be selecting 5 people on Monday to receive the scholarship. And I will let you know what the scholarship entails. There's no full scholarships available, but a major discount for those that are having a financial crisis because of COVID but want to move forward with CPU. Looking forward to hearing from you. I hope this helped you learn more about fasting and chemotherapy and the fasting mimicking diet, and we will talk again soon. Thank you so much.